Have you noticed more errors in textual language than you used to see? I have. I don't mean errors in social media posts or personal text messages. I'm talking about errors in professional publications. The New York Times recently published an article about the fires in Hawaii. Tragic events. I'm not trying to make light of it at all, but in the first sentence of the second paragraph, it says, questions were also emerging about key government response. Admittedly, I saw this article the same day that it was first posted, and it wasn't long before that error was corrected to say the government response. But shouldn't a proofreader have caught that error the first time before it was published? Or were they in too big of a hurry? Does the New York Times use AI grammar checkers that miss stuff? Does the New York Times even have human proofreaders? What about magazine publishers who aren't under pressure to publish multiple articles on a daily basis? A360 Media recently published The Ultimate Guide to Superman. And if you flip this magazine over to the back, there's a caption in the bottom right corner that says, Christopher Reeve takes off in 1978's Superman the Move? Really? Taschen Books recently printed the Star Wars Archives, which talks about how George Lucas made the first Star Wars film. And on page 134, it says, unhappy with the way the front projection had been captured, tests were carried out on May 27th. Now, if we analyze that sentence, the underlined introductory phrase is a dangling modifier, because the sentence doesn't contain the subject that the writer intended that phrase to describe. Were the tests unhappy? A correct way to put it is, unhappy with the way the front projection had been captured, George Lucas carried out tests on May 27. Or George Lucas requested that tests be carried out. Then, of course, we have the Burger King sign behind me, where the word Whopper is missing the H. Now, of course, you don't have to be a literary giant to work at Burger King. But when you consider how many times the word Whopper is posted around the inside of the restaurant, that's a pretty silly mistake. Even this shirt I'm wearing has an error, technically. This is Dr. Banner from The Incredible Hulk saying, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. That comma in the middle of the second sentence doesn't need to be there. And that's because when you have a subordinate clause such as when I'm angry in the second half of a sentence, you don't need a comma before it. You only put a comma with a subordinate clause when the subordinate clause comes in the first half of the sentence. So if it said, when I'm angry, you wouldn't like me, then you would want a comma after when I'm angry. But the way it is on this t-shirt, no comma is necessary. Granted, professional writing has far more correct use of language than incorrect use. So yes, I'm being nitpicky here. But what other fields have more harmful effects of inattention to detail? How many other fields have people in too much of a hurry and too dependent on technology?